Welcome back. President Cyril Ramaphosa will, for the first time under the Government of National Unity, lead a delegation for a state visit to China. Ramaphosa and several other ministers will visit President Xi Jinping ahead of the 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit. The forum is billed as the most powerful and authoritative illustration of deep trade relations between China and Africa. At least half of the continent's heads of state are expected to attend. Our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, has more.
A majority of Africa's heads of state are expected in China next week to cement trade and bilateral relations with Beijing at the 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit. While South Africa's new Government of National Unity will also be in attendance at FOCAC, all eyes will be on President Cyril Ramaphosa, who will be on a state visit to Xi Jinping ahead of the forum. The Institute for the Future of Knowledge says African leaders must fight for a fair deal with the Red Dragon.
Ambassador, we're sick and tired of being sick and tired of being exporters of raw materials. We don't want to export raw materials to China. We want to work with you on the continent to do value addition, produce cars on the continent, produce computers on the continent, produce value-added products on the continent for the African market and for export to China, export to Europe, export to the world. The African wants to move up the value chains.
Beijing appears ready to beef up efforts to ramp up imports from Africa after China approved an additional 25 agricultural products from 14 African countries, including Kenya, South Africa, Benin, and Egypt in 2022. The trade imbalance has also been evident in recent years, in spite of China portraying the trade as mostly balanced. China's trade surplus against Africa was almost $18 billion in 2019, growing to $43 billion in 2020. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation says discussions at this year's FOCAC will be on supporting African infrastructure to help the continent realize its goals of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
President Ramaphosa will be co-chairing a high-level panel with a specific focus on industrialization, agriculture modernization, and then green development, which he will be co-chairing with a very eminent person from China.
Professor Paul Tembe, the author of the book Xi Jinping and the Flourishing Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in the New Era, says he wrote the book to demystify China. Tembe says the FOCAC summit is another opportunity for African nations to independently and collectively work on their agency, which is lacking.
FOCAC has grown to become a multimodal structure, a multimodal framework, in the sense that it is no longer a political structure that is trying to organize the whole continent vis-à-vis China or to cooperate with China. But it is multimodal in terms of that trade is within the mode of FOCAC. Security issues are within the mode of FOCAC. Cultural exchange are imbued within FOCAC. People-to-people relations, including people-to-people exchange mechanism.
Chinese loans to African nations have also suffered from perceptions that these are debt traps, where some African nations, including Kenya and Angola, recently narrowly defaulted on those loans. Chinese ambassador to South Africa, Wu Peng, says FOCAC stands out as the most important symbol to China's commitment to Africa.
In 2023, the trade between China and Africa reached a record high of $282 billion, a 26-fold increase compared with the founding year of the forum, year 2000. China's foreign direct investment in Africa exceeded 40 billion US dollar, growing by over 100 folds compared with the year 2000.
For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I am Xolani Mbanjwa in Pretoria.